Nowadays, when we use the word media, what springs to mind is IT, or the press. Yeah, there's where they use the word media. But of course, it surrounds us all. And as McLuhan said, it is an extension of our humanity, the media. It's the way we meet others in these many different realms and many parts of them. What we do find, though, it works the other way too. The media changes how we see ourselves too. And that's why we have to be so conscious of it, especially when working with children. But to extend ourselves, we also have to know who we are. And that's where the education comes in. I think it's so important what Paula will bring today. That what is the awareness of being a child? What is the meaning of being a child when confronted with these different ways of media, of expression?
So therefore, of course, this underlines once more why it is important for us to really tackle this issue in a coherent manner and to come up with adequate solutions to develop media literacy, digital education as such across Europe. One of the most significant challenges is to identify the activators, the facilitators that can deploy those solutions, those positive examples in a large extent across Europe and in all member states. So we need, of course, to develop this important network of facilitators and activators, people that can deploy the concrete actions, that can involve the local community, that can involve the private sector in those communities, that can involve the local authorities. And of course, those activists do exist at the level of NGOs, do exist in schools, but we need to identify them, promote them, finance them, but also train them. The biggest challenge, again, is to really develop the ecosystem regarding this specific objective of media literacy. Therefore, in order to build this ecosystem, we need to interact more and listen to teachers, to young people, listen to the parents as well, listen to the NGOs. We need to make sure that what is being decided in Brussels has also strong support at grassroots level, because otherwise it will not get implemented. In the same time, of course, beyond this awareness, we have a key opportunity, which is recovery and resilience programs across Europe. And when looking at numbers, we see that member states have allocated around 10% of the recovery and resilience facilities for education. And you know probably that I was the one that registered the amendment recommending to member states to allocate at least 10% for education. And out of that 10%, I have here the numbers, a large part of the sums goes for digital education. So 30% of the money going for education goes to digital education, meaning roughly 40 billion euros are supposed to go to digital education. And this, of course, represents an opportunity, but also implies that we need to talk about how to do that, how to spend that money in a coherent way so we can have outcomes, tangible results, positive results when it comes to digital literacy, but also media literacy, when it comes to teaching young people on how to manage their presence online, but also not only young people, adults as well, on how to do that in a coherent manner. There are different solutions that are presented by experts. We are going to see today a couple of solutions that are going to be presented by our guests. If we want to have a bigger impact, we need to find a proper solution together with them, allowing them to allocate time to get trained, but also for them to also accept the methods, but also participate in the elaboration of those specific methods. And there are many examples like that you often discussed during your debates. I always, of course, pay very much attention to the input that you are giving us. And you will see a reflection of those inputs also in my amendments in the European Parliament.
If we look at kindergarten, left side, kindergarten kids, and we look at education in the digital age, well, how are digital media being used in Steiner Waldorf kindergartens? Did you expect that? Hardly at all. That's like below 3%. So would that be different if we took age into account? We want to differentiate a little bit more. if we ask questions in a differentiated way. How about upper school? That doesn't look too good either. It's 16%. That's still not a lot. That's what's the outcome for upper school if you differentiate between these 6 different areas of purposes of media education. And you can see this bar, searching, organizing, judging information, is the highest one. And how about kindergarten? Nothing. Well, hardly anything. And I wanted to alert you to this, the fact that the answers we're going to get depend a lot on the method we're using. So what we did is we also asked about what analog media do you use in your educational setting, kindergarten or school. So let's have a look at the kindergarten results here. If we add the green bars, I was expecting the green bars to go down and the purple bars to go up for upper school. This is kindergarten, and I was disproved. So this is all descriptive data, and I like it when I'm disproved. I had a different expectation. So in upper school, the green bars are twice as high. They didn't go down. And so this is analog media for media maturity education. And the purple bars kind of tripled or quadrupled. Interesting. Disproved my expectations. So that still is not wide enough. We've opened the shutters to include the analog ways. But how about, let's go to Negrescu report again, that the partnership with parents is really important. It hasn't been in there. We have not asked anything about how do you do parent evenings? Do you offer parents support? Do you have them participate in developing media curricula, etc.? It's not been asked. So we opened the shutters even wider, and we opened them to what Victor pointed out is very important, the prevention of digital risks. We don't only want skilled digital workers, we also want prevention of digital risks to avoid harmful behavior, it's saying here. So let's go back to the data. No, one step before we do that, about prevention of digital risks. I took this from a German topography of dangers. There are 32 different digital risks that children and adolescents could be faced with. So how about we introduce a prevention program for each of them? Would be great, wouldn't it? Like, just imagine the lesson plan, Monday, prevention of cyber addictions, Tuesday, fake news, Wednesday, data literacy. So, no, I'm just joking. I'm saying that if we seriously took this kind of cognitive-based turns and critical reflection approach to preventing digital risks, frankly speaking, there would probably not be time for children to learn how to read and write. So instead, let's focus on the common risk and protective factors. So for the early years of education, focus on what I've marked in red, the resource-oriented, non-risk specific approaches to health promotion and prevention. So in order to protect children from digital risks, life skills training. Getting back to the descriptive data from the MünDig study, we found that this area of real-life empowerment to prevent digital risks is the one that almost 100% of teachers report they're doing that, kindergarten teachers. And parent counseling and cooperation, that's the right bar. I'm quite happy that half of the institutions say we do that. The pedagogical support. I'm not so happy about this tiny bar here. That's the technical support. Do we teach parents how to install things like time protection, filter software, etc.? No, it's not happening. Same thing for upper school. It's almost the same. And we included one. So there are altogether 10 domains now. As you can see, I've not mentioned this one, teachers' use of digital media, and this one, helping children cope with adverse media experiences. So now we've opened the shutters, and I'm satisfied that we're really getting a good picture. I'm imagining this kind of evaluation method could be used to measure impact. What is being done? And I'm slightly worried that we would be getting only the purple bars, or at least if we had edtech companies decide on the survey method, we would only get the purple bars. The conclusion would be no digital education is going on. Let's change that. Let's buy more stuff. Let's have more Wi-Fi and more tablets and more everything. So I consider this a much more resource-oriented approach because it's actually asking what is there instead of saying what are the deficits, what's not there. We've been describing what's going on in these alternative educational settings. Is that an attitude we want to change because it's outdated? Or is it an attitude that we should support because it makes sense in the light of the scientific findings we have on media effects on child development? So I'm just holding up this position paper. It's being translated into English now. For early childhood, we should allow these educational settings to keep doing what they're doing, which means not using digital education in the kindergarten setting. This is, I'm just going to read a tiny little bit from that. The lively interaction with caregivers and enabling the child's exploration of the environment are essential and sufficient for healthy development. If you want digital education to take place, but you don't want to increase digital risks while doing it, you really want to take a look at the analog options for teaching digital skills.
What is the main aim? This is, I'm going to read this to you. I don't usually read my slides, but I will just do this because without this, I don't think the project can be understood. So the goal of the HERMMES project is that at the end of their school career, pupils are media mature. They should be able to use the full range of analog and digital media for their own education, participation in civil society and the labor market. What is very important here is that what already we heard from Paula, this full range of analog is digital, and digital is very important. And the term media maturity, as you also mentioned, we often think of media as digital media, while it is so much wider than that. And we use it in this project in this full sense of a means by which something is communicated or expressed. And we have started working on our framework curriculum. A framework curriculum is something that should be adaptable and flexible to use in many countries and filled in according to the schools or so local, regional, or country level needs. Given the situation in their own context. So we started working on that. And you can see here school policy guidelines. What is school policy guidelines? We are often asked. And I would just like to mention two things from that. And one, that it should show schools that many things that they are already doing is already media education. And that is not only for ICT teachers to give media or digital education, but it's a holistic approach that also involves already kindergarten teachers or people like English teachers who say, yes, but I don't have anything to do with media, and then to show them that they have everything to do with building up media maturity in children. The other issue is this working together, parents and teachers, schools and teachers, which I think also gives this extra level of interest within our project, how to get to the same page, how to help the children all around and not having different ideas at home and at school, to align those at least to some degree. When I was this Monday at the opening event of the Lifelong Learning Week, Mr. Stefan Hermans, the Director Policy Strategy and Evaluation in DG Education, Youth, Sport and Culture, actually talked about this, that there is this little shift or away from, if we give enough hardware to pupils and software and IT knowledge and Wi-Fi, then everything will be fine. That there is this gradual shift of to build up the skills of the pupils to use those. And this shift in view ties really well with our ideas. And so that we need to equip the children and young people with skills to be able to use those digital tools in a responsible, media mature way.
First of all, I think we have to explain to decision makers also here in Brussels that online education is not equal to digital education. So there are two different things. So teaching in front of a screen is not equal to digital education, which implies a lot more than that. A second element, I think that needs to be stressed all the time. I know for you as insiders of the story, it seems quite weird, but I can tell you for a fact after discussion with people also, the Commission and the Parliament, that we need to do that, is to explain that, of course, giving hardware, giving tablets to kids is not enough. So access to hardware and software is just part of the issue and doesn't resolve the problem. The goal is to teach students and pupils how to use hardware and software in a useful manner for them. What is also important, and I saw that in Paula's intervention, and I underlined that in my report, is that we need to prepare youngsters for the use of the computer, for the use of technologies. And needs to be done today at a very early age, and we need tools for that. Analog tools can be a solution, and we need to do that to prepare them for the digital environment. Projects like yours are also very important in developing those tools, those guidelines, but also in showing how we need to do that. Because in your project, as I saw it, you developed that ecosystem that I was talking about, a small one, but a successful one that brought results. But we need to replicate those models in different places. And we need to learn from, again, what you managed to do, but also the problems that you faced.
How do we keep that balance? And I think it is about balance and compromise for whatever we do in life when we talk about education. And all parents know that it's not about the extremes, that it is, and it's the most difficult thing to do, is to find what we would call the golden way in the middle. And we all know that learning only happens in human relations. So the media, digital tools are tools. And I think that's the most important point that we need to stress. But the essential point is still human relationships. And if you'd all think back to your own school career, when did you learn best? What did you learn most? It usually was when there was an inspiring person involved somewhere.
I think we all agree here. We really, all of us we agree that how important it is to integrate digital technologies in age-appropriate and in really focused manner. Digital technologies, putting the infrastructure, it is important, but it's really much more and very, very important to develop digital skills and competences. And this is really one of the priorities we have in our digital education action plan. Safe, informed, critical engagement of young people with digital technologies is really, really important. Digital tools are not disappearing, but young people really should have the skills, the competences, the knowledge, the critical engagement to feel safe online as well, to feel also empowered. If you allow me, I would like to highlight a couple of initiatives we have on our site under the Digital Education Action Plan. And the first one is actually guidelines for teachers and educators on tackling disinformation and promoting digital literacy. We heard a lot about addressing fake news, being safe online, teacher training as well. And I think this is a very good project that brings a lot of these topics together, because this is set of guidelines, a 40-page document, not more than that. That was developed by an expert group we put together. And the idea is to, and actually I see a representative of O Digital who was part of this group. So the idea of these guidelines is really to provide hands-on and practical guidance for teachers, how to address topics, disinformation, to build critical engagement, critical thinking in the classroom. And actually, if you allow me, I would like to highlight that the different activities provided, learning tips or general tips and guidance for teachers include also the use of analog and unplugged activities. So it's not always about only the interaction with the digital tools and the screens. And last point I would like to highlight, and we heard from the Parliament, I'm presenting the work to the Commission, but actually earlier this week, only on Monday, the Council adopted Council conclusions on supporting well-being in digital education. So the Ministers of Education from the Member States agreed on conclusions on this topic, which is the first time they actually discuss well-being in digital education. I think this discussion today, it's been very, very useful, very insightful for us, and I'm happy to see how we can integrate it further in our work. So I end here, so thanks a lot thank you very, very much for this discussion, and congratulations on this event.